Yeshua the Messiah, the righteous one, the bread of
Morgan,
life,
Dean, Diane,
true light.
For All Soul, Lady Grace, I missed one. Faith Gal, Tatu Taco Taco,
The source of eternal
Gemma Lassie.
salvation.
Good morning,
All
Andrea
those who
Desher.
hear him, like a branch that remains in a vine, so may I.
Good morning, Woody and the Wing Nuts. I like that. Faith Gal, I missed one.
I choose to remain in you.
Lucas.
May we remain in Yeshua. As
Oh,
he
Andrea,
is
that's
the
cool.
Father,
3 Live, Shoot 34.
and the Father in him. So
Oh my
may
gosh,
they
I can't even imagine why. I mean, there's so much going on. You may not be able to watch me. Why would you if you've got something better to watch? So hard, fighting so hard.
May the grace of the
Oh, that looks like Dawn Richardson.
Yeshua
Is that
the
you, Dawn?
Messiah.
There he is.
The love of God, the fellowship of the Ruach.
Dawn Richardson is my sound surgeon, and he did all the recording of the tracks for this album and the mixing. Dawn Richardson of Midlife Crisis Recording. How you doing, buddy? Where are you? Okay. Favorite solo? Come on. Don Davis on soprano. Nan Joy, hi. I see a few others. Thanks for jumping in. Don, are you in town? You far away? May I 191167555FE. What? 796618451. Yeah, I bet you are having so much fun in your camper. Step check. Step.
We love the Lord your God with all our soul. We love the Lord with all our soul. We love our neighbors as we love ourselves. I join myself to the Master, Yeshua the Messiah.
Don, does that sound okay? Is the roadie sounding good with the music? Sometimes I have to start and restart to get it clean. Grammy Pan. Don Richardson, have fun. See, you have fans in here, Don. Awesome. Hi, guys. We've had an interesting week. Mama's big mouth. I can relate to that. You know what? If I took my phone outside, you guys would see that I finally got my version of a sukkah up this year. It's okay, not great. Rodri001. We've got strung across the courtyard these beautiful lights, and then I took bamboo and wove them together and strung that up, and then we hung all our branches and things there so we could see up to the sky and celebrate Feast of Tabernacles and the idea that God is coming to dwell with us and that we dwell with him and all that is. I did a whole teaching on it before, but it's really the season of our joy, and it's the season of remembering how God has provided for us in the past. And also camping is the most perfect thing to do on Feast of Sukkot, because the Bible talks about how you're supposed to leave your paneled houses and all your conveniences and go out into the wilderness and make a temporary dwelling, so you're aware we are temporary dwellings, right? We only get hey Sandra, we don't get so much, we only get so many years in these temporary dwellings. And then What have we decided? Who are we going to serve? Have we surrendered to Jesus? Have we received the high price reality of what he paid for our sins? Are we going to heaven, or are we just religious, nice people? Are we counting? Are we rolling the dice based on some kind of God grading on a curve thing? So Sukkot brings us into the reality of our finite life and being prepared to be with God forever and enjoying his presence. So it's been a crazy week. We've had some huge tweet outs where we've gotten, zillions of people. And then we've had just our kind of more intimate group, which sometimes, honestly, I like those the best, because the people that are, hey Sandra, the people that are kind of here in our pod, in our little tribe, we've started to sense, I think, a real support of one another, of our commonality, and our determination that we're going to be the happiest, most positive, encouraged people, as well as the most activated. We're doing our part. We are not just sitting back on our hands. We are doing our part to make a difference in the world. And I want to tell you kind of a nifty story from today, because, okay, this thing we're in, one of the things that the enemy used to do to me was to try to get me to stay home all the time. And it was a weird sort of anxiousness about leaving the house and not feeling safe outside of my house. And it was very, very subtle. And until one day, hello, Republic Q17, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm being played. There's this subtext going through my mind. And when I leave the house, there's this little rattling saying, you're not safe, you're not safe. Look how big and scary it is out there. What's going on out there? And when I realized it, I thought, oh my gosh, good morning, Juliet. I realized I was going to have to take possession of the world. I was going to have to get to the point where I was determined to leave the house and do my thing. And it happened around about the time I learned to pray for the sick and lay hands on people and pray for people everywhere I went. So I started seeing people get healed. Just yesterday, I was driving in my car, and the lady that I prayed for on the road, remember her? She goes, wow, my back it's much better. And she said, my knees are a problem. I said, well, we're going to pray for your knees. And that encounter I had with her when I was driving down the road and I stopped and prayed for the lady with the walker, she said, I just hoped I would see you. And then she got delivered of oppression and anxiety and grief. And so there she was just so happy to see me. But, well, I don't think Satan wanted me out of the house. I think he wanted me to develop a really subtle form of social anxiety and agoraphobia, so that over time I would just become more and more withdrawn and stay in my little hobbit hole. And when I discerned that, I remember being in the car and going, oh my gosh, this voice is always talking to me about how I'm not safe. And so I began to shout in the car and say, I am safe. I am in the center of God's will. Nobody is safer than the person who's walking with God and surrendered to his will. You know who's not safe? At the time I said, Hillary Clinton's not safe. And that was in the olden days when she was a little bit more up on the queen pole, and none of this stuff was coming out. Like this week, she's really in trouble. Stuff's coming out. If you follow James R., you'll know that the DOJ, that there is, according to James R. and Director Mike, there is a grand jury that has been seated to review Hillary Clinton's emails on Tuesday morning in D.C. Yes. And the orders came from headquarters. It's time to move and act on all of that nonsense. So, but, years ago when she and Bill were sort of the untouchables, I remember yelling in my car, I'm safe because I'm in God's will. If anything happens to me, I'm going to be in the presence of God forever. I'm as safe as you can get. It is not safe out there. I'm the safe one. They need what I've got. And I began to shout it and praise it and worship it. And then I began to just make sure that I went out. But I didn't just go out. I went out and I would look for people to pray for all the time. And whenever I would feel a resistance, like I'd hear that little voice like, just stay home. Let someone else do it. Because my husband loves to run errands. He loves to run errands. He's the happiest errand guy in the world. And with all the changes to travel and everything, he's been home now more than ever. And he is the most positive, upbeat, servant-hearted guy who wants to get up and just get whatever you need. So I can sort of sit back and go, okay, you deal with it. Because now the aversion that I feel is the social control aversion, and the feeling of going out of the house and seeing everybody literally putting themselves under social control voluntarily, without even so much for most people as a considered alternative to that, without even so much as a resistance moment. Let's just social signal to everyone, and we're all going to be these good people because we do this thing, which is a form of social control, mind control, brain control. And so I have dealt in the past with this aversion to going out and just wanting to be in my bubble. Well, it's that thing is more active in a different way because of the whole mask deal. Because when I go out, I don't wear one. There are a few exceptions that I've made for very specific reasons, but basically, I go out and I say I don't own a mask. Here's why I'm not wearing this mask. I have a condition that prevents it. My business, not your business. And it's really interesting to see what happens, but I would prefer to avoid that. But I just want to tell you what happened today. So I got up this morning, and it was a weird night, and I'm sitting there, and I sort of had this feeling, it's like I forgot I had appointments. It was really weird. I was sitting there just kind of trying, like somebody hit me in the head with a brick. And then my husband got up and said, hey, I'm going to be out golfing until whatever. Well, we're having a Sukkot party tonight. We got in-loves coming from out of state to celebrate with us. I needed groceries. I needed decorations. I got stuff to do, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my Sherpa husband is not going to be doing my shopping for me. My Sherpa husband is not going to be dealing with the things I don't really like to deal with. And so I was just sitting there and going, Lord, how? Of course I'm going to do it, but feeling the feelings, because it goes into an old place. See, Satan knows where your influence is, and he knows how to set you up to back away from opportunities that actually put you in a greater level of authority and influence. And so have you guys noticed that anybody who calls on your landline isn't anybody you want to talk to these days? Have you noticed that? Like they're not even anybody you know? What is with that? I'm wondering why we have a landline anymore. Anyways, and so I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, I have this appointment at 8 a.m. It's 7 o'clock. I have an hour to go get my groceries. And in a flash, all of a sudden it was like, because I had said, Lord, what am I going to do? How do you want me to handle this? Because if I go here and they give me flack, then I'm not going to be able to buy groceries or whatever it is, right? But here's what I've learned to do. Instead of just shut down, which would have been my old way of dealing with it, to shut down, I lean in. What are we going to do, Lord? What's going to be the solution? I'm not sure how we're going to handle this. Give me a way. Where's a way? What's a witty invention? What's a thing I can do? Give me something that allows me to increase my footprint and move forward and do what needs to be done. I see roadblocks, and so instead of just jumping back to fear, I lean in and listen and go, what's my opportunity? Well, all of a sudden I just went, hey, just sort of came on me. If I go now, it's early in the day, there's less people, that's probably makes them feel more comfortable. Why don't I just go over there now to that one store I was in one day when I bought a flower for the lady by the roadside, and I'll go in there, and if I leave right now, I'll be able to be back, by 8 o'clock. And so I got my thing, ran out. I was in the car in like 5 minutes. I mean, completely uncomposed in every conceivable way. Got in the car, went in, and sure enough, it was just a blessing. Have you noticed nowadays that things that you used to just take for granted really mean more to you, like sitting across from someone, like a hug, like a smile, like an in-person worship service, like the things that we just thought, yeah, well, those things matter. So I walk into this store, and they had this grocery store, Shaw's, Yay. They had no issues with me. I was greeted by people. There was no, where's your mask? Why aren't you wearing a mask? And I go in there and I start moving around. I start calming down. And it just got more and more pleasant. And the people who worked there were so helpful. And then this lady comes in and she doesn't have a mask. And I just was like giving her a thumbs up and she was giving me a thumbs up. And she said, it's kind of a lonely world out there, isn't it, now? And I said, yeah, it sure can be. And we kind of cheered each other on. And then I wound up walking around the store and getting so much more comfortable and so much more present and so much more thankful because I had to go. I had to deal with it. And God gave me a way that I wound up buying twice as much stuff as I needed to buy on purpose. And then I went to the aisle and the manager was there helping bag groceries. And I just said, I want you to know, you see, I'm not wearing a mask, but because you guys have been so welcoming and so pleasant, my experience has been so positive. We don't usually shop here, but I'm going to make sure we shop here now. And I said, and I bought twice as much stuff as I would have bought. So I just want to say thank you. These things, you guys, these little tiny micro movements, in a sense. People are like, oh, say you got your damn groceries. What difference does that make, lady? Don't be talking to me. I mean, you may have some big, huge thing in your life going on right now where you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from. Maybe your kid is AWOL. You've got all these things going on in your world, and I'm bragging about buying groceries without a mask. Yes, I am, and I'm not going to back off because I'll tell you what, I remember when my life was a hot mess. And I remember when everything was terrifying. And I remember when I was an emotional basket case and I lived in drama and there were so many unresolved things. And you know what? I've worked hard and long to learn how to live fear-free. And I've learned a few things that I'm going to tell you about. And one of them is that some of the biggest things I'm glad, Sandra, some of the biggest things we ever do are the smallest. The fact that you get your butt off the couch to go. I gave you some tips yesterday. That you get up and you move and you activate and you face it. And I've learned that when something seems completely overwhelming to me, that if I will sit and listen and ask for the way, in the Bible says, you're going to hear a voice that says, here's the way, walk ye in it. Here's the way. Here's the opening. Here's the fissure. Here's the crack. Here's the opportunity. Pay attention. Pay attention. And you will find that in those micro leverages of the little things that people don't just get. Generally speaking, unless there's a massive trauma, people don't move from fairly functional to hiding in their basements with newspapers piled up on either side overnight. No, fear is constantly moving forward and it's constantly taking more territory. It's a territorial spirit. And we become its slave, micro leverage by micro leverage, by giving up one space here and giving up one relationship there and giving up one thought there and another there until you get to the point where you just kind of go, oh, well, that was me. I mean, you look at folks here's a good example, my precious mother-in-law who's now with the Lord, she was one of the most gorgeous women in Hollywood. She and her husband had a table at Ciro's restaurant next to Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. And they had a house on Kings Road in Beverly Hills, which was they used to belong to Zsa Zsa Gabor. And they bought this house. It was not a huge place, but it was Beverly Hills adjacent. And it was quite a place. And she and her husband were the bee's knees in Beverly Hills in their sphere. I mean, they weren't like superstars or anything, right? But they were there. And she was the most gorgeous, put together, organized person. And yet at the end of her life, because of situation after situation and avoidance after avoidance, undealt with pain after undealt with pain, this woman, who was very, very wealthy, lived like in an absolute wreck of a house with stuff piled on both sides of her in the most disheveled state you can possibly imagine. Yet she had a powerful healing ministry and she shared the gospel all the time with people and people loved her, but in her private life, it was one micro leverage of the enemy over another. over issues that were never dealt with, pain that was never dealt with, little thing over little thing, until you wake up one day and your whole house and your whole life is about withdrawing. It's about withdrawing from the things that now are too big for you. So do not ever, my friends, think that it's a small thing that you got your groceries without a mask, that you hugged a person, that you prayed for a person, that you reached out, that you voted, that you made, oh my gosh, speaking of which, I gotta make my phone calls, my campaign calls. Those got away from me this week. That we don't ever think that your small little obedience is nothing. It's not. And you leverage up from actually taking care of business over the things that you think don't matter. But they do matter. They do matter. Those little things of self-care where you go, I'm going to do this because I have value. I'm going to go ahead and pray this prayer because I'm going to trust God hears me. Even if I've got tons of programming that's telling me I'm the poor child on the porch that God never listens to. No, I'm going to make this move. I'm going to call that person and I'm going to tell them they matter. And I'm going to express this to them. And it's all really about the little things because your brain has changed a little thing at a time. A thought that you refuse to let just launch into your brain and you just let it go by. And the next thing you know, it's sitting on the living room floor of your life, taking up space. These things matter, and they bring the ministry of encouragement. People who carry the ministry of encouragement and know how to encourage other people a minute at a time, a moment at a time, a yes at a time, an obedience at a time. The next thing you don't want to do, the next thing you think you'd just rather avoid. They all really, really do matter. And here's my tip for today, okay? You need to know that because the brain is so beautifully designed to serve you, your earth suit is designed to serve you. Your brain is going to support you, and in several different ways. It's going to wire to sit what you decide you believe. So if you're going to stay neggy, it's just going to rewire for that because, that's apparently what you choose to live out of. And it wants to keep you safe and alive, and it wants to serve your thoughts and your choices, and it's designed to save energy. Your whole body is designed to save energy, and that's, again, a way to preserve your life and keep the systems going, right? So when you get up in the morning and you say, today is the day. Today is the day. I'm gonna do, Sandra, I'm gonna do my 12 minutes, my 14 minutes. Today is the day I'm gonna, by the way, we're supposed to do an interview. I have no idea when it is. And you say, this is the day I'm gonna begin my no sugar or my fast, or I'm gonna make my phone calls. Did you know that every time I make campaign phone calls, I get a little uncomfortable until I get started, kind of like, ooh, like all strangers, and I just go, nope, we're doing it. We're doing it. And this is how you have to be on it, because what happens when you decide this is the day and the alarm clock goes off and this is the morning I'm going to change my life and go do my exercises. If you don't immediately respond with the activity of choosing to change, with the get out of bed when the alarm goes to get up and have a glass of water instead of a latte, and get on the treadmill instead of park in front of your computer, or call the person you need to call, or deal with what you need to deal with, your brain will give you an instant list of reasons not to do it. Instantly. It's like a neurological thing. Alarm goes off. Oh. And if you don't move out, okay, time to get up. This is my choice. Boom. If you lay there, you'll see within seconds, well, I could start tomorrow. Well, I'm not really that fat. Well, I've gone this far without changing, so why should I need to change? I mean, and you'll literally have a list. And what that is your brain saying, conserving energy, and saying, look, you already wired us for being slovenly and out of shape. So really, I mean, there's all kind of reasons why you believe that. So I'm just going to present you with all the wiring you've already wired in. And it's conserving energy, and it's reminding of you of what you set in motion and flowing out of that. And it's a thing. It's a thing your brain just will do automatically, to give you all the reasons why not to. And then if you add to that spiritual warfare, where the enemy's like, oh, totally. Let's just leverage up on the apathetic wiring Julie has, and add to that some, I don't know, mild depression and some, lies about her character and her value, then we've got this thing sealed. But if you will move and say, nope, sorry, that was then, this is now, this is my new reality, I'm getting up. It's actually easier. It's easier to obey from a neurological perspective. It's easier to obey God. It's easier to make change the more quickly you do it into a situation. And in moments where you're waiting for an answer, when you've already made the decision, and you're saying, like today, how am I going to get this done, and how am I going to deal with this, and what about the flack and the pushback I could get if I go here or there, the other thing. I had to decide. My first thought was, oh gosh, he's going to be gone. My Sherpa husband is unavailable, and then you're going to have to do it. And if I had spent a lot of time waiting in an apathetic, I don't know, maybe not, my brain would have totally supported a negative mindset. But because I said, the answer is yes, I'm going to deal with it. This is my job. God is good. Lord, we're going to do this thing now. What's the best way to do it? What are my opportunities? How are we going to get through this day? And then when he dropped that into my spirit, I was off like a rocket. And you will find that when it comes to major risk, the quicker you jump into a yes with God and into a forward-leaning posture toward that thing that even makes you super uncomfortable, and you reach in, you will find that actually you'll shift your brain into a rewiring phase for it to begin to support you and go, oh, we're going to do it. She's going to do it. And you won't it will turn down the volume on the, well, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't. So if you sit in that, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe I'm not really a winner. Maybe I'm telling you, it is way harder to obey from that. The longer you wait to obey the call of the Holy Spirit, to step out in faith based on what you're needing to deal with, the harder it is from a neurological standpoint. The harder the warfare is. And the more quickly you jump to a, yes, of course I'm going to show up today. Yes, of course I'm going to deal with. Yes, of course I'm going to brush my teeth and floss. Yes, of course I'm going to do the dishes. Of course I am. Of course, oh my gosh, I got some trauma and pain coming up. Of course I'm going to deal with that. What are my options? What are my resources? Oh my gosh, there's somebody who needs ministry. Of course I'm going to find a way to help with that. I might seek the Lord. What am I supposed to do first? But yes, the answer is yes, we're moving forward. And from a neurological and a spiritual warfare standpoint, the more quickly you move into a posture of pressing in and moving forward, the easier it is. And when you get that going in your life on a daily basis, you just find that your refuse to lose, really, you wake up one day and go, I'm just not that person anymore that I was. You get that, oh, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to have that conversation. You go, nope, we're having it. It's going to happen. Lord, what's your timing? What's your way? But the answer is yes. It's done. It's already happening. It's already coming to pass. That's how I live. That's what's going on. And has something to do with our title today, Last Man Standing. It's a person who just determines, wherever this life takes me and whatever happens in the next few weeks, I determine that I refuse to lose. I'm going to be the person standing in resilience in response to that, going, nope, we're taking this ground. Whatever it looks like, no, I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving up my town. I'm not giving up my nation. I'm not giving up my brain. I'm not giving up my health. I'm not giving up my attitude. No, I'm going to be the last woman standing. I'm going to stand here, having done all stand. And again, sometimes it seems so big. and overwhelming. But it's a micro decision at a time. It's something about going to your desk and putting the papers in a nice, neat pile in this spot, even if maybe it's a mess over there. And the next little thing going, it matters. It mattered that I made my bed today. I brought order out of chaos. I brought beauty. It matters. Now, I'm visual, so it's easier for me to see. Non-visual people a lot of times miss it. But where you have the ability to bring order, self-discipline, positivity, you begin to crush it, because those things just begin to be the way you live. That, hey, I'm the person, when you come to my house, you're going to experience peace, because I bring peace and order in so many ways into my physical environment. I clean my toilets. I deal with that. I take care of maintenance. I make sure things get filed on time. And a lot of times, people with deep fear and panic and insecurity, they let all those things begin to go. And the next thing you know, there's more and more and more and more unraveling. But management, stewardship is a beautiful thing. And it teaches you how to own your soul. It teaches you how to bring peace, order into situations around you by being there, standing up, showing up. And don't ever think that the little stuff doesn't matter. Because you need those victories to be able to say, like, I got to do my 50 phone calls. It's got to happen. I determine it, it's going to be done. And so there you have it. And now more than ever, with the overarching mind control and propaganda and pressure, and oh, someone else will do it, oh, the bullies will get me. Every moment of resistance to that mindset is super extra powerful. And there's a sense in which, because we are a body, we are a community, we are a humanity, that decision has ripples out into the atmosphere and into the lives of others beyond what we can even imagine. Right? Victory, that's right, Mr. Saxophone. So, go do something that scares you on purpose. Something little. So you can just go, dang, I did it. I got that done. Procrastination is a form of fear. Perfectionism is a form of fear. So when we put off and we make the bar so high, it's a way of saying, I choose to believe that I'm not capable, I'm not enough, I don't have to, someone else, another day, another dollar. Little things are big things in the kingdom of heaven, especially done with a heart of praise and thanksgiving and in the presence of God and inviting Him to be present in us in a really manifest way. Right? So, anyways, that's good. That's right, Faith Gal. Press into every challenge. That's right. And if your life is a big, huge, hot mess, you're going to have to do it anyway. You're going to have to do it anyway. You better start somewhere. And if you're not ready to take on your physical abuser and get out of drugs and alcohol and organize your family, maybe you better make your bed, brush your teeth, get out, have a walk, call a friend, get an accountability partner, eat some vegetables. Decide that no matter what happens between now and the time you meet Jesus, you're going to get well. Even if it takes you for the rest of your life, you're going to learn how to do this abundant life thing because He already promised it. Pretty cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Go to subscribestar.com if you want to support the program or you want to invest in your own freedom. And at different levels, you can do different things. One-on-one coaching with me, small mastermind group, which I'm going to launch very quickly, and other group experiences, discovery survey, music, different things at different levels that you can receive by sewing into this and sewing into yourself. So, all right, you guys. I will see you on Monday. And please do start small if you need to today, but go do something that scares you.